Man, you droopy ass, fan out ass, hoes, and you groupie ass. Quit. Get my DM, bro. Something about this motherfucking song, this nigga. It's two sides to his story. Just wait till I get out and tell my side. I'm flushing you, I stop that.
Pooh Shiesty just got himself into a major situation. Things are heating up fast. EBG Moose has been talking, and there's serious tension between their camps right now. Reports say things almost got physical, but one move went completely wrong. And the wildest part? Pooh supposedly spoke on it himself. This whole story just took a crazy turn. Now it's looking like Pooh might be facing trouble again after his probation officer caught wind of everything. But before we get to that, let's break down exactly how this chaos even started. This entire feud between Pooh Shiesty and EBG didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's been brewing for a while. What if I told you it all began with a straight-up setup that went too far? The word on the street is that Pooh and his crew pulled a move that crossed serious lines. Things got personal fast. Here's what went down. Pooh and his people allegedly decided to slide through EBG territory and hit one of their spots. It wasn't just some small-time situation either. They reportedly grabbed a serious stash. That's wild when you think about it. You can't just take from street-connected people and think it's gonna slide. That's like poking a hornet's nest and hoping you don't get stung. But here's the craziest part. It wasn't random. Word is, Pooh knew exactly whose place it was. He had inside info on where the stash was hidden. Everything about it seemed planned out and done with precision. This was no accident, it was strategy, and now the whole thing's exploding for everyone to see. That's straight up next level disrespect right there. The stuff that got taken wasn't just regular gear. These were serious, high-powered pieces, the kind that make people take notice. EBG had a full setup, like a mini armory, and Pooh supposedly walked in and cleared it out. Can you imagine how embarrassed EBG must have felt when they realized everything they'd built their name on just got snatched away? Their whole image took a hit, and in the streets, that's a major deal. After that move went down, the entire city was buzzing. Everyone was talking, wondering what EBG was gonna do next. They couldn't just sit back or they'd look soft to every other crew out there. In that world, respect means everything. But here's the twist. Pooh Shiesty wasn't laying low at all. He was out here bragging, telling folks how he pulled it off and got away with it. That's wild confidence right there. But the moment he did that, he basically put a spotlight on himself. Everyone knew a response was coming. It was only a matter of time. Both sides understood it couldn't just end peacefully. When you take something that valuable, that's not something you talk out over the phone. It becomes personal, deep, and messy real quick. But instead of jumping straight into the streets, they took the battle somewhere else first, to the music. Pooh Shiesty fired the first shot musically, dropping a diss track straight at EBG Dizzle, and wow, he did not hold back. Pooh went all in, calling Dizzle out by name and throwing major shade, saying EBG was soft and couldn't do anything about what happened. He was bold with it, sounding completely confident like he had nothing to lose. The disrespect in that track was on another level. But what really turned heads was how detailed Pooh got. This wasn't just a regular diss, he was getting super specific, dropping names, hitting at locations, even mentioning people close to him. That's when it stopped sounding like music and started feeling way too personal. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It felt like an open challenge for everyone to see. Of course, Dizzle wasn't about to let that slide. He came right back with his own response track, and you could hear the anger in his voice. He went straight at Pooh, calling him fake, saying he wasn't really built like that, and that he only moved around with heavy backup. Dizzle made it clear he wasn't scared, and that he was ready to stand on what he said. The energy in that track was pure fury. Then the back and forth got real. They started bringing up family names, their blocks, old incidents. Nothing was off limits. It wasn't just about music anymore. It turned into two sides throwing real shade out in the open, with the entire city tuned in to every move. People online went wild with this beef, reposting the diss tracks, making reaction videos, and hyping every single lyric like it was a movie. But what they didn't realize was that all that attention was making things way more serious. Every share, every comment, every meme, it all pushed both sides to prove they were really living what they rapped about. Social media turned a lyrical rivalry into a full-blown street situation. Each post added pressure, and soon it wasn't just about music anymore. It was about ego, pride, and reputation. Then came the moment that changed everything. Pooh's associate, a guy named Hank, thought he spotted an EBG member cruising around town. Instead of double-checking, he reacted on impulse, and things went terribly wrong. Turns out, the person in that car wasn't even connected to EBG at all. It was just an innocent driver with a similar-looking ride. That's beyond wild. Imagine just going about your day and suddenly getting caught up in drama that had nothing to do with you. Hank had been riding around for weeks, paranoid and on edge, convinced every car he saw was an enemy's in. When he saw that vehicle, he didn't pause to think, he just acted. The situation happened in day broad light, right on a busy street where people were out, kids were around, everyone just trying to live their lives. What should have been a normal day instantly turned chaotic. That's exactly how the cops caught him. He literally crashed while trying to get away. You can't make this stuff up. The wreck was so bad that Hank got knocked out cold. When the police and medics pulled up, they found him slumped over the wheel with the weapon still right there in his lap. It was like he handed himself straight to the authorities without even realizing it. But here's where things get truly heartbreaking. The person who got caught in the crossfire, the innocent driver, ended up seriously hurt. The doctors later confirmed he was paralyzed from the waist down. Imagine that, someone just driving home after a long day, no connection to any of this drama, and suddenly their life changes forever. That's a beyond tragic situation. His family started a GoFundMe to cover the medical bills, and once the story spread online, people from all over began donating and showing love. The support was massive, but the truth is, no amount of money can undo the trauma or bring back what was lost. Hank was taken into custody right there at the crash site and hit with serious charges for what happened. The judge didn't play around with this one. Hank got slammed with 20 years behind bars, 2 whole decades gone, all because he reacted without thinking and mistook someone as an enemy. That's the harsh reality of acting on impulse in the streets. It always comes back around one way or another.
During the trial, prosecutors painted Hank as a reckless and dangerous guy who was willing to put innocent lives at risk just to prove loyalty to his circle. They laid out everything: his past record, the people he hung around with, and his history of getting into violent situations. It was a long list, and it didn't make him look good at all. His defense team tried their best to argue that Hank truly believed he was in danger, that he thought rivals were coming for him, and that he was just reacting out of fear. But with all the evidence stacked against him, and the fact that the person he hurt had absolutely nothing to do with that lifestyle, the jury couldn't look past it. The verdict was clear, and the courtroom fell silent when the sentence came down. The victim's family sat through every single day of that trial, watching the person who changed their loved one's life forever. Seeing that young man in a wheelchair, knowing he'd never live the same again, broke everyone's hearts. When the judge announced Hank's 20-year sentence, Hank barely reacted, but his family couldn't hold back their tears. They knew they wouldn't see him walk free again until he was much older. That's the real cost to this so-called street loyalty. It doesn't just hurt one side, it tears apart families everywhere. But here's the wild part: it didn't stop there. Things between Pooh Shiesty and EBG's own Moose Slime took another crazy twist, and we know exactly what went down because Pooh himself talked about it in one of his unreleased tracks. So, according to Pooh's own lyrics in one of his unreleased tracks, he was out riding around when he spotted Moose Slime. From how he tells it, Moose must have seen him coming because the man took off running immediately. But Pooh wasn't about to just let that slide. He jumped out and went after him on foot. The way Pooh describes it, this chase was straight out of an action movie. It stretched across several blocks. Moose Slime was sprinting through back alleys, hopping fences, and doing everything possible to get away. But Pooh kept up the whole time, matching every move. In the track, Pooh raps about how Moose eventually tripped and hit the ground, and that's when things took a wild turn. Pooh Pooh says he stood over Moose while he was down, ready to confront him face to face. But here's the shocking part. His weapon jammed right then and there. In that split second, everything flipped. Pooh literally had his rival cornered, completely at his mercy. And then fate stepped in and stopped it cold. That's the kind of twist you only see in movies. In the song, Pooh talks about how frustrated and stunned he was in that moment, how he felt like the universe itself had stepped in to block what he was about to do. The way he tells it, it's like he was seconds away from changing both their lives forever. The part of Pooh's lyrics that had everyone talking was when he rapped about pulling the trigger multiple times, but all he heard were clicks. He even described the look on Moose Slime's face, the shock, the confusion when he realized what was happening and that the weapon wouldn't fire. It was intense, and people couldn't believe how detailed the lyrics were. But Moose Slime's response? Completely different vibe. Instead of getting emotional or firing back with anger, he kept it cool and said there's two sides to every story. He didn't flat out deny what happened, but he didn't confirm it either. He played it smart, saying folks could believe whatever they wanted. But honestly, the fact that he didn't straight up call Pooh a liar, that said a lot. If nothing really had gone down, he probably would have denied it from the jump. The way Moose handled it was smooth and strategic. By keeping quiet about specific details, he avoided saying anything that could get him or Pooh into deeper trouble. It was like he knew exactly how to protect himself while still keeping his street credibility intact. No extra words, no self-incrimination, just calm, controlled energy. But here's where it gets wild. Pooh admitting to this kind of thing in a song could seriously mess with his probation. He's already walking a fine line legally, and now he's out here putting questionable situations into his lyrics for the world to hear. It's one thing to make music about the lifestyle, but when it starts sounding too close to real events, that's when the system starts watching real close. Pooh is probably stressing heavy right now. When you're on probation, you can't be connected to anything illegal, and you definitely can't drop songs that sound like confessions. The system takes that kind of thing super serious, especially when it involves talk of weapons or anything violent. And believe it or not, parole officers do pay attention to lyrics. They've used songs before to argue that someone's still tied up in the same mindset that got them in trouble in the first place. Even if the lyrics are just creative storytelling, they can still be used as evidence to question behavior. If Pooh's probation officer takes these bars seriously, things could go downhill fast, and this time, it might not be a short stay behind bars. When you violate probation, the judge can make you serve the rest of your original sentence plus face new penalties. Legal experts who looked into this kind of case are saying Pooh's team is probably working non-stop right now. His lawyers might try to argue that the lyrics are pure art and not literal, but that's a hard sell when you're naming real people and describing things that line up too closely with real events. Once those details start matching up, the whole "it's just entertainment" defense gets shaky. What's wild about this situation is how it perfectly shows how the cycle keeps spinning. It all started with a robbery rumor, then came the diss tracks, then Hank's tragic mistake with an innocent victim, and now this. So many lives have already been thrown into chaos over this chain of events. Families on both sides have suffered, and at this point, it's hard not to wonder, when does it stop? When does someone finally say enough is enough? Hank's sitting on a 20-year sentence, an innocent person's life is forever changed, and now Pooh might be facing more legal trouble, and the chaos still hasn't stopped. Nobody's really winning here, except the system that profits off broken lives and lost potential. The most heartbreaking part of it all? That innocent driver who ended up paralyzed. He had nothing to do with the drama, wasn't tied to any crew, and was just living his life when everything got taken from him because of a terrible case of misidentity. What makes this even harder to swallow is how preventable it all was. If Pooh had just walked away from the original situation with EBG, things never would have gone this far. But pride, reputation, and that pressure to prove something kept both sides locked in. Every move became about image, who looked tougher, who could respond faster, and it all spiraled out of control. Social media made it 10 times worse. Every post, every reaction video, every diss shared online added more energy to the situation. Instead of cooling off, both camps felt pushed to keep proving they were really about what they rapped about. When thousands of people are watching, liking, and commenting, it turns into a public show where backing down looks like weakness.
And here's the sad truth. Young fans were watching it all unfold. Some of them started choosing sides, arguing online, even making their own diss tracks trying to copy what they saw. What started as entertainment started bleeding into real life. The more viral it got, the more impossible it became for anyone to just step back and let it end peacefully. After everything that's already gone down, you'd think the drama would finally cool off. But nope, things took another wild turn. Word started spreading that EBG wasn't done talking. Rumors popped up online that Moose Slime and his crew had been back in the studio, allegedly recording a new diss track aimed right back at Pooh. And once social media caught wind of that, the internet lit up all over again. Fans were already debating what was real and what was just for clout, but nobody could ignore how intense it was getting. What made this even crazier was how both sides were now using music like it was warfare. Each song wasn't just about bars, it was about dominance, reputation, and control. Every lyric dropped felt like another move in a never-ending chess game. The tension was back on the rise, and the city could feel it. Local promoters started canceling shows, saying it was too risky to have both camps anywhere near the same venue. You could practically feel the pressure in the air. Meanwhile, Pooh's legal team was scrambling again. Reports say his parole officer wasn't happy about all the new attention, and investigators were quietly keeping tabs on everything he posted. Even though the songs weren't direct confessions, the timing and details were just too close to ignore. It was like Pooh's art was haunting him in real life. At the same time, Moose Slime was getting more eyes on him than ever before. His followers were growing fast, and people were praising him for staying calm and not letting things push him into doing something reckless. But behind the scenes, even his own people were nervous. Every new track, every post, every video could set something off again. Now the streets are on edge, the fans are glued to their screens, and everyone's waiting to see what happens next. Will this finally die down, or are we about to see another chapter of madness unfold? Because from the looks of it, this beef isn't just about music anymore. It's about survival, reputation, and who can walk away without losing everything. Once something blows up online, there's no way to pull it back, and that's exactly what's trapping both sides right now. The beef went so viral that neither Pooh Shiesty nor EBG can just walk away without looking weak in front of millions of eyes. At this point, it's not just a feud, it's a full-blown spectacle. Right now, Pooh is still out on probation, but that could change any moment. His lawyers are definitely working non-stop trying to clean this up before things spiral even further. They'll probably argue that the song is nothing more than artistic storytelling. But when you start mentioning real names and real situations, that defense gets shaky real fast. The internet might see it as entertainment, but the courts often see something completely different. Everyone's watching closely to see how this plays out. If Pooh ends up getting locked up again, it could either bring an end to the conflict or push his people to keep things going in his name. That's usually how these cycles continue. And law enforcement, they're fully tuned in. Whenever beefs like this get this much attention, the police step up patrols and keep a close eye on both sides, hoping to prevent the next explosion before it happens. Even the music industry is watching, because this situation could change everything. If Pooh gets penalized because of his lyrics, it might make other artists think twice about how real they get in their music. The line between art and evidence is getting thinner, and this case could set a major example moving forward. At the end of the day, this whole situation is a huge warning for anyone chasing that street image. What started as a single act years ago has now turned into a trail of pain, loss, and wasted potential. So many talented people got caught up in a lifestyle that keeps taking more than it gives. Pooh Shiesty's got real talent, no doubt about that. The guy could have blown up even bigger if it wasn't for all this drama surrounding him. But now, it's looking like his career might be in serious trouble before it ever reached its full potential. For anyone watching this whole situation play out, the message should be loud and clear. This lifestyle doesn't lead anywhere good. Even when you're looking like you're winning, you still lose in the long run. Jail time, tragedy, or a lifetime of watching your back, those are the only outcomes that come with this path. Once something blows up online, there's no way to pull it back, and that's exactly what's trapping both sides right now. The beef went so viral that neither Pooh Shiesty nor EBG can just walk away without looking weak in front of millions of eyes. At this point, it's not just a feud, it's a full-blown spectacle. Right now, Pooh is still out on probation, but that could change any moment. His lawyers are definitely working non-stop trying to clean this up before things spiral even further. They'll probably argue that the song is nothing more than artistic storytelling, but when you start mentioning real names and real situations, that defense gets shaky real fast. The internet might see it as entertainment, but the courts often see something completely different. Everyone's watching closely to see how this plays out. If Pooh ends up getting locked up again, it could either bring an end to the conflict or push his people to keep things going in his name. That's usually how these cycles continue. And law enforcement, they're fully tuned in. Whenever beefs like this get this much attention, the police step up patrols and keep a close eye on both sides, hoping to prevent the next explosion before it happens. Even the music industry is watching because this situation could change everything. If Pooh gets penalized because of his lyrics, it might make other artists think twice about how real they get in their music. The line between art and evidence is getting thinner, and this case could set a major example moving forward. At the end of the day, this whole situation is a huge warning for anyone chasing that street image. What started as a single act years ago has now turned into a trail of pain, loss, and wasted potential. So many talented people got caught up in a lifestyle that keeps taking more than it gives. Pooh Shiesty's got real talent, no doubt about that. The guy could have blown up even bigger if it wasn't for all this drama surrounding him. But now, it's looking like his career might be in serious trouble before it ever reached its full potential. For anyone watching this whole situation play out, the message should be loud and clear. This lifestyle doesn't lead anywhere good. Even when you're looking like you're winning, you still lose in the long run. Jail time, tragedy, or a lifetime of watching your back, those are the only outcomes that come with this path. The fact that we're even talking about rappers dropping songs that sound like confessions shows just how far things have gone. Somewhere along the way, people stopped separating real life from entertainment, and it's tearing careers apart before they even get started. There's a difference between rapping about the struggle and living it real deal, and that line has gotten way too blurry. But hey, if you learned something new or found this breakdown interesting, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more people see the truth behind these wild stories. And drop a comment below. What do you think? Do you think Pooh's gonna end up facing consequences for what he said in his music? Should he have kept quiet instead of putting everything out there for the world to hear? And if you want more real talk like this, more breakdowns of the craziest situations in hip-hop and street culture, make sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on. We've got way more coming your way. The streets never stop talking. And trust me, I've got the next big story already lined up. Stay safe, move smart, and remember, these streets don't play fair, so think twice before getting caught up in something you can't walk away from. Peace.